Now, joining me to discuss the escalating trade tensions is Associate Professor Heng Wang from the China International Business and Economic Law Centre at the University of New South Wales. Previously, Professor Wang headed a World Trade Organization law centre at a Chinese university. Thanks so much for joining us. So, Professor Wang, any surprise that China has retaliated to this lift in tariffs on Chinese imports?
I don't think it's really so much surprise because China has to show that actually they have maintained their positions in the negotiations that will be useful in the forthcoming possible further negotiation with the US.
And what sort of impact do you think this imposition of new tariffs, or higher tariffs on US imports will have in China?
I think basically that means a lot of pressure because the U.S. already has also thinking of another tariff increase on the remaining 300 billion exports from China. So Chinese exporters will have a lot of pressure in exploring U.S. markets because they may lose the U.S. markets. That also may be concerned with the potential job losses in China. So that's been a major concern China may face in that regard.
So there certainly will be big impacts on economic growth, both in the U.S. and China, if this trade dispute escalates.
Yes, I think that's correct for Chinese exporters, but also for U.S. consumers.
Now, what about an independent body like the World Trade Organization? Now, China has actually complained about US tactics to the WTO. Is it likely that the World Trade Organization could intervene to try and resolve this issue?
I think we have two problems. First one, the WTO rules doesn't really has their limits if you go to issue like national security. And secondly, the WTO still face their own problem regarding the appellate body judges in the WTO, which will not be sufficient if everything goes in this direction towards the end of this year. So there are some uncertainties regarding how WTO can intervene in that sense.
Now, do you think that these trade talks will lead to a resolution? As we've been seeing, they've been going on. There's no resolution yet. Is it likely that the US and China can reach any common ground?
I think it's remain to be seen. I think the economic factor will be very important. If the economic situation on either side has been pretty bad, I think they may have more incentive for them to reach an agreement. But also, having said that, from a legal perspective, there are many sensitive issues like SOEs as well as subsidies. They are hard to be solved in the short term, so there's a lot of uncertainties in that regard.
Okay. Who is likely to blink first, China or the US?
I would say this actually depends on economic performance. From an economic perspective, one may argue that China may also have a lot of pressure because China exports more to the US and other way around. But having said that, US consumers will be affected by this kind of tariff as well, so we'll wait and see.
And in terms of currency, of course, for a long time, China's been under fire from its export partners like the US for depreciating its currency. Is that a tactic, though, that China could use as a negotiating bargaining chip?
I think it's been a double-edged sword. On one hand, if China reduces the value of RMB, that'd be good for exporting. But on the other side, it will be increase the pressure it will receive from the US because of a possible value currency manipulation claims by the US. So that's been probably down the track, but not immediately available, I think.
Now, do you have any, it's very hard to judge how long this dispute will drag on, but what's the view from Beijing's side? Do you think they've factored in a certain period of time for the resolution of the dispute?
I think as far as we have seen, the response Chinese government has done, I think they have some plan for if the trade war will last for quite some time. So it's likely that the trade war will continue, and China has some preparation for that. So that's what I have seen from the action taken by Chinese government.